Hello and welcome. My name is Burke Salabisoy, and I am one of the founders of Daisuke Coaching. I am an executive coach. I work with leaders, mostly in tech, and I help them create real business results. Today, I would like to share with you some lessons on leadership. Lessons I learned by coaching over 100 successful leaders, and also by working as a leader myself in the corporate world. I'm also a software engineer, and I've been in the field for about 17 years. Some of my past employers include Intel, Apple, and Microsoft. By the end of this video today, you will learn two things. One, how to build instant rapport with people, even with strangers. And two, how to use that rapport honestly and elegantly to get people to take action without having to sell them or convince them of anything. But I want to caution you, what I'm about to share with you today is powerful, and it has the full potential to change your life. Because of that, I want you to promise that you will never, ever use these tactics and strategies to get people to act against their own self-interest. If you can make that promise, sit tight and let's get started. One of my clients, CEO of a tech startup here in Silicon Valley, called me because two of his directors are fighting viciously, in his own words, to a point that it's affecting his business bottom line. He had to do something, so he gave me a call. I went to the office. I got these guys, these directors in the same room, and let me tell you, they could not stand each other's presence, okay? They can't wait to leave that room. So I made it quick. I asked them a question, same question, one by one. And that one question not only brought peace to his business division, it also increased their productivity as well as their revenue. I'll get to that question in a bit. But first, let's talk about why bother with questions in the first place? Why not tell people specifically what to do and how to do it and simply move on? Well, telling people what to do, in other words, giving advice, does not work. And I'll tell you why. 4 reasons. 1, insight is, by definition, sight or vision from within. It's not handed to us. And because it is something that you came up with, it's a lot more valuable. We tend to listen to them, we follow it. It receives no resistance. Advice, on the other hand, or instructions, we question things like, who are you to say this? What do you know that I don't know? How can I verify this is true? And finally, what's in it for you? 2, in business, as a leader, giving advice can turn you into a bottleneck in your division, in your organization, because your people will constantly look for you to solve a problem. They'll stop innovating. With all the good intentions, they can turn into a herd of sheep, who are always looking for their shepherd, you. And I understand that you might enjoy this status for a while because you are the problem solver, you are the go-to man, but it's going to grow old. And soon you will realize that you won't have time to do your own work. 3, it is extremely unlikely that someone who ranks above you is going to ask you for advice. Think of it like this. An engineer giving advice to, let's say, director of marketing, or a technician giving advice to the VP of sales. It doesn't work like that, right? And that is problematic because we want to be able to influence everyone and anyone, not just those who know less than we do or those who rank below us. And finally, 4, following someone's instructions or recipe has little or no growth. Think about the chick and the egg. If the egg is broken from the outside, the chick dies. But if it's broken from within, life begins. And as leaders, that's the kind of transformation we're looking for. And only questions can initiate that, not advice. Now, let me ask you, what is in common between, say, dogs, lions, and horses? Someone once said they all have tails, and that's very true, but that's not my point. The fact is that they're all social animals. And that means they all have relationships with one another. And in each of these relationships, there is an alpha and a beta participant. Alpha is the one who is strong, the one who is the leader, and the one who is the expert. And beta is the complete opposite. Beta is the one who is the rookie, the weak, and the follower. And it works like that for us too, for humans. In each of your relationships, knowingly or unknowingly, you are either alpha or beta. For example, say the customer and the vendor. Who's the alpha? Most likely the customer, because he has access to the money, and money is power. Let's say 2 teenager siblings. Who is the alpha now? Quite likely whoever is older or bigger in size. Now, husband and wife, who's the alpha? In my marriage, definitely my wife and I have no idea how it got there, but usually it's men in most cultures. Here's the thing. You can be alpha in one aspect of your relationship. Let's say between you and your wife, finances, your family's finances, and you can be beta in a different aspect of the very same relationship. Say cooking. Your wife says, get out because you have no idea what you're doing in the kitchen, right? You can also be alpha in one relationship with your coworker, Jesse, and beta in a different relationship. Say with your softball team captain, Steve. Now, when you are receiving advice, are you alpha or beta? Beta, because you are being told what to do, you are being informed of things that you don't know, and it doesn't feel good. Being beta diminishes one's sense of importance, significance, status, and no one likes it. That's why it's difficult to influence a beta when you are the alpha. People don't like it. They resist it. We all want to be the hero of our own lives. We don't want to follow someone else's instructions. We don't want to be told what to do, what not to do. It doesn't work. Now, some of you might be asking, but what about work? I'm the manager. Shouldn't my people be just listening to me? Maybe yes, maybe no. But if that's the foundation of your leadership style, you're in trouble. Because if you count on authority to influence people, to get people to do things that is in the best interest of them or the business, they will do so as long as you are, let's say, monitoring, you are in charge, or as long as they work for you. When that equation changes, things go back to how they used to be. It's not ideal to count on authority. Jot this down. Authority is nothing but an illusion. Influence is everything. Now, let's go back 1 million years ago. Imagine 2 cavemen, and one tells the other, you want to go hunt? No answer. He now says, you want to go gather? Again, no answer. By the way, I don't know why they sound like that, but my point is this. It was weird, that silence in the video, right? That pause felt awkward. And that's exactly what we think of people who don't answer questions. Weird, perhaps rude, maybe socially unfit. And because of that, they are less likely to survive and reproduce. So today, we have evolved and developed an innate desire to answer questions. In fact, when asked a question, we come up with an answer no matter the question. And guess what? Of course, marketing experts know this really, really well. And that's why you'll see something like this on your, say, Facebook feed. Nike wants to know, in the past 12 months, have you bought shoes or not? Yes or no? Or maybe CNN homepage will show a little survey like this. Who will win the next Super Bowl? Seahawks, Giants, or Raiders? See, these little questions, it's really difficult not to answer. It's like a craving. And you know what else is difficult? Not answering your phone. Only in the past decade, we began pretending, oh, I was out of battery, I was on the other line, it was on vibrate. But we still look to see who's calling, and perhaps we're still annoyed when the other person does not answer his or her phone. My point is this. We want to take this craving to answer questions and use it as our basis to lead and influence people to help them get what they want. But before we can ask questions, we need a magical ingredient. Without this, our questions won't be well received. Without this, we can come across as if we are interrogating or maybe prying on the other person. Can you guess what this magical ingredient is? It's trust, understanding, sympathy. In other words, rapport. Rapport works as the foundation of any relationship. It helps people open up to you, be honest, and be vulnerable with you. It also lowers people's defenses. Without rapport, it is impossible to influence someone in the long term. You can still get them to what you want, get them to do what you want them to do, but that's not influence. That's authority, because perhaps if they don't do as you say, there are consequences. Now, 2 steps to build rapport. 1, active listening. Listen with the goal of listening only. Listen with 100% undivided attention. Don't be waiting to say something as soon as the other person completes his or her sentence. That's not active listening. Listen more than you talk. When people feel that heard or understood, they're much more likely to not only like you, but also open up to you. 2, ask questions. Now, you might be thinking, to ask questions, I have to have rapport, and to build rapport, I have to ask questions. It's like an endless loop, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is this: ask questions to show that you are interested in what this person has to say. Demonstrate genuine curiosity. I mean, ask follow-up questions. Be more interested than interesting, because we all love it when someone wants to learn more about who we are and what we do, and be that person. Now, speaking of building rapport, let's talk about destroying rapport, and this is fun. Now, how to destroy rapport? Well, dishonesty, lying, obviously, being late, judging, labeling, criticizing, bragging, having bad breath, bad body odor, you name it. And destroying rapport is easy, it's fast, but building rapport takes time. Now, let's talk about questions. What kind of questions, more specifically? But first, let me ask you, did you know that your brain is designed to do one thing only? Survive. It wants you to live another day. It's not there to make you rich or happy or loved. No. Your brain always looks for what is wrong around you so that you can avoid that thing. And it does this by asking questions. You remember the cavemen that we talked about earlier? They might be thinking now, Why is it that we couldn't kill the mammoth today? How come there's no more fish in the river? Or why did that red mushroom make me sick? See, these questions were good a million years ago. Perhaps they helped our species survive. But given where we are as a society, asking questions like this that look for what's wrong, they're not really serving. These are not empowering questions. I call these low quality questions. For example, why am I so fat? How come I'm always broke? Why does he hate me so much? Remember earlier I said that when asked a question, we come up with an answer no matter the question. This is it. If you ask yourself low quality questions like this, you are guaranteed to receive a low quality answer, which by the way justifies why you are so fat, broke, and hated so much. But if instead you ask high quality questions, you can change not only your life, but also the lives of those that you lead. Now, let's talk about high quality questions, okay? They have three things in common. One, they get you thinking because they are open-ended. They're not binary questions. They are not true, false, or yes, no questions. And because you do the thinking, these questions usually lead to an insight. Remember, a sight, vision from within, it's something that you came up with. It's not something that's handed to you. It is more valuable to you. Two, these questions create options because insight leads to options. And one of these options sometimes lead to a solution that you came up with. Three, these questions help you grow because you did the thinking and you did the solving of the problem. Therefore, you feel empowered and you have more confidence now. You feel ready to take on more in life. See, if you are trying to influence people, you don't have to convince them, you don't have to sell them your idea, and you don't have to give them advice. You just have to ask them high quality questions, which lead to insight, that leads to options, and eventually a solution. Now, a word of caution. Well, more like an important note. That is, after you ask your question, resist the urge to fill this space, fill the vacuum with words. Just go silent, say nothing, and give a chance for the other person to think. Because magic happens during this silence. This is when an insight is being created. Do not interrupt the process. And yes, at first, this might feel awkward, this silence, and maybe you feel uncomfortable. But as you practice and make this a habit, you will see that it works every single time. And guys, I've seen this work every single time with all my coaching clients, with all my direct reports, and with all my peers at work. It works on all cultures, all genders, and any other demographic. And it works because its basis is human psychology. Okay, here is what we covered so far. 1, reasons why we don't like advice and why it doesn't work. 2, the power of questions and the simple reason why asking questions do work. 3, the importance of having rapport and how to build it. 4, the types of questions to ask. Let's now bring it all together. I'll share with you some real-world situations where I used questions to support my coaching clients or my direct reports at work. Remember the Silicon Valley CEO who hired me to stop the fighting of his directors? Those guys, let's call them Peter and Brad. I go to the office. They are waiting for me in the conference room. I get in the room, and just like as I expected, these guys are nervous. They cannot stand one another, and they don't want to be there. So I made it quick. I said, Peter, please, using that marker, write down on the whiteboard for us. If you two were not fighting, how would this business improve? What's possible then? You wrote down things like, improved team morale, more accurate schedule, less product defects, and faster execution, stuff like that. I asked him to sit down and I told him, thank you. And please pass the marker to Brad. And Brad, why don't you share with us? Why don't you tell us, if you two were not fighting, how would this business improve? What's possible? And guess what? Brad's list was almost identical. And now they're kind of puzzled. So I told him, guys, I want you to create a plan that gives us all of this. Better morale, more accurate schedule, less defects, and faster execution. And then I told him, I'm going to step out to make a few phone calls. See you in a half hour. So I left. Adios, amigos. I came back in a few, and I'll be honest, I was nervous. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And when I got in the room, I was very pleasantly surprised to see two guys who are smiling, joking, and still passionately working on a plan. They even told me they were not done yet, they needed more time. That was it. All because I asked them a simple question. Next, another Silicon Valley tech startup. It's the leadership team meeting, and the team is discussing which defects to fix, which ones to not, before they release the product. One of them, they decided not to fix, I thought should have been fixed. So I asked the CTO, Stan. I said, Stan, can I have a question? He said, sure. If we say no to a high quality release that is caused by this one defect, what are we saying yes to here? And I, of course, paused as always. And Stan, as he began answering the question, he realized halfway through how bad it would look on the customer experience and on the brand. And before he could complete his sentence, the CEO stepped in and said, fix it. CTO, Stan agreed. And that was it. That was it. Kevin, an engineer, one of my direct reports, and he missed an important deadline. So I asked Kevin, how am I supposed to nominate you for a promotion now? And I went silent. And Kevin never missed another deadline. Sumana, another engineer, another direct report of mine, she missed an important deadline twice. I said, Sumana, look, how does this look on you now? Missing another deadline. She told me, it hurts my reputation. I look like a rookie. People think by now I'm unreliable. I said, okay, thank you for sharing. And I don't want this to ever happen to you again. So let's make an agreement to formalize your commitment to your deadlines. What do you think? She said yes, without knowing what that really means. So I gave her a paper and pen, and I said, write down your terms and your conditions. She wrote down things like, I will plan better, I will manage my time more efficiently, I will give you a heads up if I am likely to miss a deadline. And we both dated, we both signed it, and that was it. Sumana never missed a deadline. And I never had to scold her for missing her deadlines. An aspiring therapist, let's call him Sam, volunteers at a suicide hotline to fast track his career. And after a few days, he thinks he's got this. No one is dying on my watch, he says, Sam. Okay. And the phone rings one day, and guess what? It is the notorious serial killer. The guy who calls almost every day and says he's gonna do it today. And Sam is excited because finally he gets to talk to him. He is convinced that he can fix him once and for all. So Sam listens actively. He builds rapport with this guy. And then he tells him all the reasons that he should live for. Your family, your kids, your friends, your mom and your dad, your career, all the money that you have accumulated till today. You want to say goodbye to all of that? Right? And the guy says, you're right. What was I thinking? I won't do it. I'll never do it. And he hangs up. And Sam is over the moon. He runs to his boss and says, hey, I did it. He won't do it. He'll never do it. That's what he told me. And his boss says, well, what did you tell him? Sam says how the conversation went. And his boss says, well, he will call back. He will for sure call back because you gave him reasons to live. You gave him your reasons that life is worth living. You did not help him discover his own reasons to live. In other words, you did not ask him quality questions. You told him why he should live. And it doesn't work. It did not work. The guy called back and Sam learned an important lesson. Okay, we're at the end. But before I let you go, two things. One, I want to ask you to write down your key takeaway, the one insight you got from watching this video today. I mean it. Pause the video and write this down. And two, what action will you take that's going to follow that insight? What commitment am I getting from you right here and right now? I mean it, guys. Pause the video, grab the paper and pen, and write these down. And finally, if you want to create real results in leadership and in business, I can certainly help you. So let's talk. To all qualified candidates, I'm offering an hour of coaching for completely free, no strings attached whatsoever. And most importantly, I want to thank you for watching this video today. And I want you to know that it's been my pleasure serving you today. Thank you and bye for now.